may, there's a few things in the CAF, or the Certified Annual Financial Report, that Mr. Bryant and I discussed that we really want to emphasize for you all, because if you're anything like me, unless you're into the heavy financial lifting, it's pretty dense document to read and have some good highlight takeaways. And really, it's really a fair amount of net positives. Overall, the city had a positive cash position. We grew our fund balance last year by $1 million. Our fund balance right now is at 30%. Our city policy is 18%. So these are positives, as I mentioned. In fiscal year 20, there was no use of the fund balance. There was also no overspending by any of the city agencies, which means we all stayed within our budgetary allocations, which at times, while a challenge, we got it done. And that's to commend all of the department heads on the work that they do. And we've made continued progress on the debt per capita. And while I will say it sounds that everything's very good and nice and fluffy and rosy picture, you know, we also still don't know what COVID may bring us or other unintended economic impacts as we started to see a downturn. But we are in a good, strong, conservative financial position. A few things, though, to note is the tax delinquency is up slightly. And then there was an uptick in unemployment over last year. Roughly, there was a 10% increase in the overall bottom line of unemployment from this period that they audited last year. And as Mr. Gordon-Jones noted, the landfill liabilities in fiscal year 20, or fiscal year 19, the landfill liabilities were at $4 million. In fiscal year 20, they etched up to just about $4.6 million. So again, I think that that's one of the things, is we've all talked several times about just making sure that we keep in the forefront a landfill strategy and how we handle post-care and closure as we work to try to be responsible with that aspect of an operation, because that does become very costly to localities very easily. But again, council has been very aggressive in its financial policies that it has asked staff to put in place and its budgeting measures that it has approved. And staff has been very responsible in all of its efforts. So I think it's just a good effort by everyone all around. I just wanted to take a moment and acknowledge that.
Thank you. So are there any other comments or anything from David? Do you have anything, Bryant? You all right?
Your mic's off, David.
I'm good. I don't have anything additional. Thank you.
Okay. Council, anybody have any concerns, questions, or comments before we move on? Ms. Onaitis, that brings us to report of the city manager.
Yay! All right. So, I guess in an effort to get the elephant out of the room, we'll start with Mallow and Edgemont improvements as part of our emergency road work. There's some background noise that I'm having a hard time kind of focusing through. Is that, Mr. Hunter, could you mute your microphone, please?
As soon as I find myself.
Okay. I apologize. With Mallow and Edgemont, the Mallow area of the emergency road work,
You picking that up in here?
the tree clearing has been finished. We cleared just a little over 18 trees. Actually, all of those trees were dead or at risk of life safety issues with where we were trying to improve drainage. The bank grading will be completed this week. As I mentioned last week, there was the huge oak tree that was on the side coming around the curve that we were going to be working with property owners and just within that area of our right-of-way to get that removed. We have regraded that, and the ditch has already been rough graded all the way down the side of Mallow when you actually drive off the side of the road. Then we have also lined the drainage ditch that is on the actual You're driving down Mallow from the city on the left side of the road. The ditches have been lined, and we're starting with an impervious liner. We'll start to fill it in with some rock and other things. Mallow is slated to be fully reopened next week. We are working to then schedule the pavers. In there, we put the paving package for bid and everything together and get the guardrail in on Mallow. Mallow is a site where we did require replacement of guardrail. With regards to the concern as to why we started 2 sites at once, one of the issues is the repairs on Mallow took longer than expected because of the extensive drainage issues that became very evident once we started the work there of what really caused the road damage. As a secondary aspect, we needed to keep 2 crews, and we split them in an effort to reduce mobilization costs, because each time they move to another site, whether it's in the city or they leave the city and come back, there is a mobilization fee. So it was easier to also just try to work continuously to address the drainage issues in earnest on Mallow. I will say that while we did not receive a large number of calls or concerns about Mallow, Edgemont was not that same scenario. I will be very candid with you all on that. There seems to have, from a traffic control standpoint, not enforcement, but control standpoint, been miscommunications from what the contractors who manage the road site and the traffic flow and directing of traffic as it's their active work site, and what the city had been working to put out and relay to them. There was a miscommunication, and that they were under the impression of trying to not allow any vehicles through. Whether, our main goal was to keep the large trucks off of those side residential roads in the Edgemont area, because those roads are not wide enough to hold a double tandem truck, for instance. That's not the ideal route to take. Unfortunately, you'd have to go around the city. Yesterday, the city did put out a rather comprehensive press release addressing Mallow and its current repair status, Edgemont and its current repair status. It is projected Edgemont will be fully reopened end of day Thursday. And we also addressed the miscommunications with traffic control, not enforcement, traffic control, which is one of the responsibilities of the contractors. I myself spoke to the owner of our contracting company and advised them of the miscommunications and the issues that created, as my office also received multiple phone calls, in addition to the letter that was sent in to our clerk, Ms. Scott, as well as some of the concerns that I know were relayed to you all as council. We put out additional signs on Edgemont yesterday to just try to make folks aware that, it's just, we're trying to really only have local traffic. If you live there, go to church there, that kind of thing, going through the neighborhoods, because we've seen some impact in the right of way with some of the homes in the neighborhood getting issues with tire marks and other things, and they're actually coming from personal use vehicles, because those streets are just not used to a high volume of cars. Is there anything on that I've not fully explained? I think the biggest issue was that on Friday, that led to where we were with the traffic control confusion. Late Friday, we had to make a decision for life safety reasons to close down Edgemont 24/7, because once we started excavation and you have large equipment there and everything, the ground was not stable, the asphalt shifted further, and cars would have been damaged going over the roadway, or they could have ran the risk of falling off the roadway. And we were advised by our consultant engineer, as well as GSI, the geostabilization contractors, and the construction workers on site, that it was not advisable to have it open until the repairs were complete. I'm sure some of you may recall that when we started this process back in August of doing these emergency roadwork repairs, that I did try my best to emphasize to you all that things make day by day, because you don't know what you don't know until you start the digging and you start really trying to address the root causes of what caused these failures. With that being said, I will ask you all, are there any questions, concerns, comments?
Krystal, the only thing that concerns me is, I know you told me you had instructed Public Works to contact anyone that might be impacted by the full road closure on Edgemont.
Mm-hmm.
Who was contacted? I did not see anything news media type saying that it was a change in direction and it would be closed over the weekend.
So we had the chief of police put a post out on Friday, and that was put on the Covington page. It was reposted on Covington Notification. We had our staff member that normally handles all of the media notifications. They had a vacation day. As you all are aware, we have many folks trying to use their time before they lose time. We also went and talked to folks in the neighborhood. Mr. Dressler did that personally. Last week, he was talking to folks just about the work, about the traffic flow. I will say that we probably could have handled it a little better on Friday evening, but things were flying very fast, and we made the decision around 3 o'clock on Friday that we needed to go ahead and close it. Mr. Bryant was actually on that executive team meeting Zoom that we had, where the chief and Mr. Dressler and I, we were discussing exactly what we even needed to put in the release. And we were flying by the seat of our pants on Friday because it changed literally in the field on Friday, from the morning time and the cracks and the fractures in the asphalt to what it then became by the end of the day when they were getting ready to wrap up their construction work. So we could have handled it better. Working to move forward and past that. The good news is that the work has still always remained on schedule. So they are slated to have everything, including the repaving, done on Thursday afternoon.
Okay. In the future, if we could really target the media, I don't know that the newspaper received anything. I don't know if the radio station, I don't know if the Allegheny Journal. Those are all good resources to get information out. So I think we probably really need to focus a little harder on getting information out, especially radio, newspaper, and the journal.
Absolutely, and I will say we missed on that, and I will own that. I should have followed up with the chief to make sure that he knew not just to put it on Facebook. That is my responsibility, and I will own that.
Other than that, everything's going great.
All right. I do have some other things I'd like to update you all on. If I could. So with that being said, I'd like to give you guys an update on Maple Avenue Phase 2. The conduit installing still continues, and the work is now shifting, as you may have seen, into the alley in the City Mall parking lot. That is now transitioning. The concrete is now beginning to be poured around the conduit that crosses Maple. That was slated to have begun yesterday, and the contractor will not work next Friday. They have some conflict with some other scheduled work, so they'll be off next Friday. So the road will just be buttoned up for folks to either walk down or hopefully down. Maple Avenue Phase 3, Vdot had previously provided us some comments, feedback on it. We've worked with our consultants to address all of those. They now have all the documents needed for final review. The environmental work has been completed and will be reviewed by Vdot for completeness. This project is on schedule. And Jameson from Vdot, who actually oversees all of the locally administered projects, has indicated that she wants to discuss how we plan on funding that, just because in the event that the Transportation Alternative Program funds are not fully available to the extent that we had previously quote unquote banked on, if that makes sense. As we all know, there's been shifting funds across all state agencies with what's available and what's not. And as we learn more about that, I'll be sure to update you all, but I do think it's going to be one of those things that we're going to need to prioritize, because it's a worthwhile investment when you already get to the final phase of something, taking it down to the river. As I mentioned, we also have an update for Jackson Street, Department of Housing Community Development Funding application. We had a conference called, our consultant, myself, and a few others on November, just the week before Thanksgiving, to have a game plan for how we proceed with the construction improvement grant application. And again, focusing on the infrastructure and drainage pieces in the Jackson Street area that really, impact adversely the property values of homes. Public meetings will need to be held as part of that process of moving into the construction grant application. So we'll need to be doing 2 of those. And we are working with CHA on a preliminary engineering report that we'll update, and then we'll also present that to council as well. Any questions on that? All right. We had a kickoff meeting today with Thompson and Litton on our consent order work, and that was a good step forward in us getting in the right path with all of our compliance efforts. We also had a meeting with CHA and Thompson and Litton on December 2nd, just to discuss any information that may be needed that would be pre-existing, and we're working to move forward on that. Also wanted to advise you all that on Friday, the Main Street Revitalization Grant consultants, Vdot Strategy, will be out here doing a site visit, which is very exciting, and I'm pleased that they're making the venture out, even during the times of COVID, to talk to the grant management team, to get a tour of downtown, walk through buildings that they can, and spend the day out here just getting a feel for what is Covington as we start the preliminary process of just kicking off the engagement with our consultants. The mayor will be out hopefully on Friday with them. We have Miss Ann Wright that will also be doing the walking tour and kind of giving them the historical overview of where we were and where we are with our Main Street. So very excited for that. And last but not least, just wanted to update you all on our Vdot strategy and just some great things set in motion now. Delegate Austin has reached out to me now on several occasions, and we have had some discussions on Rayon Bridge. We have the inspection for Rayon Bridge is slated for the week of the 14th through the 18th. And as soon as that is done, Vdot has indicated and committed that they will be out here for their inspectors. So beyond that, any questions, comments? I'm sure there's stuff I didn't cover, but you can always reach out to me.
With the inspection on Rayon Bridge, will there be a closure for that?
Partial. They'll do 1 lane. So we'll have a flagger out there that can still let folks through.
And then
that is the intent at this time. If it changes, we'll be sure to do as much notice as we can.
And I assume then at the end of the day, when the inspections are done, it'll be opened back up.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
1-day process.